The U.S. authorities today announced murder-for-hire charges against a man from India who they say plotted to pay an assassin to kill a prominent Sikh separatist leader living in New York City. It comes after the Canadian government accused Indian officials of possibly being involved in the assassination of a Sikh activist living in British Columbia. The CBC's Richard Madden joins us now live from Washington. So, Richard, what do we know about this case so far?
Yeah, Andrew, this newly sealed indictment describes a real alarming murder-for-hire plot, as you noted, that was foiled by undercover agents. And in this indictment, they allege that an Indian national was plotting to assassinate a political activist and U.S. citizen of Indian origin in New York City. Now, according to this indictment, the DOJ says 52-year-old Nikhil Gupta was an Indian government employee living in India. Back in May, he tried to hire a hitman in New York to kill a man by the name of Gurpatwant Singh Pannoon, an American citizen and Canadian citizen who runs a group called Sikhs for Justice, pushing for an independent state called Khalistan. Now, under the indictment, he allegedly offered that hitman $100,000, but that hitman turned out to be an undercover DEA. So the indictment goes on to say that Gupta arranged photos and surveillance video of the victim's home, and in June urged the source, posing as a hitman, to quote, and I'm quoting here, to finish him. Finish him, brother. Don't take too much time. Push these guys, finish him. So this is where the Canada connection becomes clear, because as you'll recall, around June 19th, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a Canadian Sikh living in Vancouver, was killed. Gupta allegedly texts that hitman, who is an undercover source, a photo of the body and allegedly says there are, quote, 3 in Canada, which presumably means there were more others on that hit list. So that is new information. By the end of June, according to this indictment, Gupta reaches out to the hitman again, pressuring him to carry out the murder, saying, and I'm quoting here, "Get this done." So the indictment says then on June 30th, Gupta flew from India to the Czech Republic, and there he was arrested at the request of the U.S. So it's unclear where he's being held, but he faces a whole slew of charges. And these developments raise at least 2 big questions. Number 1, how did the U.S. stop an assassination plot, but Canada did not? And number 2, why was someone charged in the U.S., but not in Canada? Now, Canadian officials wouldn't address those questions directly, but take a listen to Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc earlier today.
What was filed in a U.S. court today confirms that Canada is not alone at managing these particular threats. What's important for us is that the Government of Canada and agencies like the RCMP and the Intelligence Service do everything that they can to protect Canadians, but also to hold accountable those that murdered a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil.
So Canada is now calling for greater cooperation with India as that investigation continues.
And so, Richard, what do we know about the accused?
Yeah, well, according to this indictment, Gupta is an employee of the Indian government. He's described as a senior field officer with responsibilities in security management and intelligence. He apparently worked in India's Central Reserve Police Force, suggesting that there's a link between the Indian government and this individual in the indictment. Now, India has since confirmed it will launch its own investigation, but the Department of Justice here has declined our interview requests, at least for now.
Lots to watch for on the story, clearly, Richard. Thank you. The CBC's Richard Madden, live in Washington.